quick update. Finally got it done. The extension has now been covered with wood, and already I've got a bunch of junk on top already. It's amazing how much stuff there is to just put on empty space, as evident by this beautiful display. So I went back and forth with material options between foam, wood, and different kinds of wood. And I went on a few Facebook forums. I actually had a post to see what people were suggesting. I was originally going to do foam, and then I went to the store and it was way too impressionable, meaning that if you pressed on it, you would get little imprints. And I figured I like to lean on the table as I work, and that was just, I felt, was going to be a disaster. So I quickly switched to the idea of wood, and this section was original. This was, the structure was original. You can kind of see the plies here. This table was already built when I moved into the house, and then I just threw trains on. But this section here, I believe, I thought it was MDF. I'm not sure. This was looking like plywood here. Maybe I had some different sections, but I thought for the majority of this whole original section was MDF. And somebody had posted that MDF will swell when it gets wet. And I figured my basement's pretty dry, that's not going to be a problem. But when I looked up MDF a little bit more, I was reminded by all the toxins that are used to make it. I've been a painter. I studied painting in college and graduate school, and I use MDF as a painting canvas, if you will. These are actually all on canvas. I don't have any down here that are MDF, but I've used MDF plenty of times over the years, which probably hasn't been good, but I figured since I'm starting something new and I want it to be as safe as possible, I went with plywood. So after taking the advice about the swelling of the MDF, I was reminded and thought I would take the safer way out, so I ended up getting plywood. This new table that I built out of the old one, which was in the last update, is not square. As you can see, this wood was cut square. This piece here, the table, that was cut square, or as square as Home Depot. The people who cut their using the machine cut as square as possible. But I'm going to assume that this piece here is more square than what I built, because what I built, I just measured, but I didn't square things. So the problem is, and I've sanded this down, this section here, this little part was a lot higher, so I was getting an uneven, and you can kind of see it pulls up here. There's a rock in the back corner, the opposite back corner moves, so it kind of rocks. I could probably sand this down a little bit more. I may leave it. I need to come up with some kind of fastening thing. Somebody had mentioned, I found a good post, somebody had been kind of doing something similar with a walk-through door, like you would walk through this and it was on a hinge, and that they had suggested using like dining room table things, using the hinges on the bottoms of those. Also, they mentioned, somebody had mentioned putting pegs in, or holes where pegs would go in so things line up. That's not a bad idea. I think I need something to essentially secure from like here to here, or from here, the original table, to this part to kind of hold it and lock it. And probably maybe on all four sections. I'm not really sure yet. This and this wood isn't perfectly straight as well. It's got a warp to it, but for all intents and purposes, everything here should be level. But then this section here probably is not, as proven by sanding this section, and it could be just a few high spots. So that's kind of something that I'm still working on. I screwed this bigger sheet down temporarily, or semi-permanent. Well, actually it's temporary. So I'm afraid if I go too low with this section, then these two won't meet up, and I need the track to go from here across the opening and then to the, you know, actual stable table. So a little bit of finagling. I just want things to be as perfect as I can before I start entertaining laying track. And I'm still working on the track plans on the computer, but I wanted to get this up as soon as possible just to get going. And I'm using my summertime off to accomplish this, but I don't want to rush either. So my idea was that I'd get the table up and do what a lot of people have done in the past and kind of lay out templates and things of how you know they want things to be laid out. I've got a few things in mind that I want to achieve on this section of the table. It serves as essentially the other end of the layout as an end-to-end. So I definitely need I'm trying to get 5 industries on this table, and I need somewhere where a road goes underneath the track. So I'm gonna have to go underneath at some point. I'm not sure. I think it's going to be either in this section here or farther up there. I'm not exactly sure, but that's why I need to start laying things out so I can actually see what the space provides. Because when you're working on a computer screen, it's, you know, you can only accomplish so much. A little bit of time has passed. I got some cork on the outer track. One major design thing I did not realize is the way, I can't describe it, but the way the existing table and the extension comes in, it doesn't lay flush to the edge, it comes in. And that's been kind of resolved, but the track is going to essentially split here. I just finished cutting this right at the seam for that gap, and I think what I'm gonna have to probably do is float the track on this part here and probably affix it pretty permanently to this part, so when I lift this out it'll just kind of lay on top here. I'm not sure, I haven't figured that out cosmetically with the ballast and how that's going to work, but that's a major design flaw I did not take into account because I did most of it on the computer as far as the track, figuring out where that was going to be, and it was a pure oversight on my part. It's pretty flush, it should be pretty good. I'm thinking for the amount of times that I'm going to have to remove this, actually will be pretty minimal. I had a plumbing issue the other day, and I thought that he was gonna have to come and deal with the electrical box. Luckily, he was able to walk me through on FaceTime and got things up and running. And I can actually reach the electrical box pretty easily and turn things off. If I need a step stool to reach the top, I can just keep that under here. And I'm kind of thinking, not that this will be permanent, but it'll be kind of like semi-permanent. So until I get the track, I'm gonna have to kind of just go with it as is. And then this part here, I'm thinking if I can get a switch, not this one's been damaged, but if I can have a switch here so the loop continues, but then I just have like a spur that goes off where that flat car is, and then it'll stay separate from the yard. Otherwise I'm going to have some kind of reversing loop situation in there, because these two tracks can't touch without a reversing loop. So this will probably just be a siding, and then I will probably put some kind of industry here, whether it's smaller or not. I'm gonna have to try to keep the scenery on this lift out part at a minimum, so that way I can easily remove it. It's not as heavy as I thought when I initially decided to go to wood. So that's about it for the updates. This is pretty much gonna serve as the July update. I'm trying to think of what else to show you guys. I'm still working on this Willoughby Line kit. I still have some more trimming to do. I put the roof parts in on this section, need to do this. I need to figure out the best way to paint these panels and trim the sides. I probably should have done that before I installed it, but that's fine. And then it's gonna go in this section, which I can show you. I've been trying my best to level it, and it should kind of fit. Yeah, it basically fits into that spot there. So that's pretty much how it's gonna look coming around. That's pretty much where it's gonna live. I think that'll be pretty nice having it set up there. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I've done a few details on the porch. The door is open, so there's still a lot more work to do on it, but that's where it's going to live. And it's going to serve as a gas station, so I need to get some gas pumps for the front here, right off the road, and it'll kind of bridge the gap between industry and the townhouses. So that's pretty much it. Trying to think what else. Looking around, that's the big project. And again, I need to get track so I can start planning things out. Trying to figure out where this curve is going to end. I think primarily I'm going to have a set of the double tracks that's going to come from here is going to go and angle pretty much this way here. And then there'll be some industries off this side and a couple off of this side, and then a town on a hill up here. That's basically what I have laid out. I have to kind of start laying it out physically so I don't run into more computer real life issues. So that's it. So stay tuned for some ops, and thanks for sticking around for the July update.